Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. In the dimly lit room, only the computer screen emitted an eerie blue light, reflecting Mike's slightly tired face. He stared at the screen, eyes complex, fingers unconsciously rubbing the mouse. The page is a female user profile named Ashley. The woman in the photo is elegant, a head of long blonde hair casually draped over the shoulders, eyes confused, red lips slightly open, as if to tell the endless temptation. And the lines of messages below were so teasing and suggestive that they made the blood run cold. It looked like a night full of passion, but Mike couldn't see a trace of lust in his eyes, only a deep, bottomless coldness and a hint of undetectable mockery. This night, for him, was just another sleepless night, a small loop in his carefully woven plan of revenge. His marriage, like this room, seems peaceful, but has long been consumed by darkness and secrets. Mike and Olivia have been married for 7 years. The 7-year itch, a spell that seems to have been fulfilled in their marriage. The passion that was once there has long been wiped out by the trivialities of the world, and all that remains is the awkwardness of being speechless and the deepening disconnect. Olivia is an editor at a fashion magazine, polished and fashion-conscious, while Mike is a project manager with a stable job and an introverted personality. They used to be an enviable couple, but somehow the two of them have less and less in common, and intimate behavior is even more rare. Olivia began to work more frequent overtime and travel more frequently, coming home each time with a tired body and a faint scent of perfume. It wasn't that Mike didn't notice the difference, but he chose to remain silent. He'd rather believe that Olivia is really fighting for her career than face the possible, horrible truth. However, once the seed of doubt is planted, it grows wildly in the darkness. Finally, on a seemingly normal night, everything changed. That day, Olivia said that the company had an urgent project that needed to be taken care of and that she wouldn't be home for dinner tonight. Mike was left alone with a mixed bag of emotions as he ate his cold meal. After dinner, he habitually turned on his computer, ready to take care of some work stuff. It was then that he noticed some unfamiliar sites added to his computer's browser history, and the name of one of them caught his attention: Soulmate, a dating site he'd never heard of. He clicked on the website with a hint of unease, and a world of temptation unfolded before his eyes. Curious, Mike signed up for an account and started browsing the information on the site. He found the site active with many married people who were looking for excitement and solace outside of their marriages. An inexplicable emotion came over him, whether it was anger, disappointment, or Mike couldn't quite put his finger on it. He thought of Olivia, of her recent erratic behavior, of her increasingly sophisticated makeup and fashionable dress. Could it be that she, too? Once the thought appeared, it could no longer be contained. Mike begins to utilize his extensive IT knowledge and understanding of Olivia to carefully track her online activities. He didn't use the exaggerated hacking techniques of those Hollywood movies, but simply utilized information that he might have access to in his daily life. He checks Olivia's phone while she's in the shower and memorizes the accounts and passwords for a few of her common software programs. He used the information to log into Olivia's email and social accounts and picked up a few clues. He noticed that Olivia frequently visited the Soulmate website at certain times and interacted with several male users. After a few days of observation and analysis, Mike identifies Olivia as Ashley, the married woman active on the dating site. She unleashes her desires in this virtual world, flirting and flirting with different men, enjoying the feeling of being pursued and desired. Mike's heart sank a little as he watched Ashley chat with the men. Those revealing words and photos stabbed his heart like a sharp knife. He couldn't believe that the woman with whom he had sworn an oath of friendship would betray their marriage and their relationship. For the next few days, Mike wandered the world of Ashley like a ghost. He scrutinized every message and photo of Ashley, trying to find out more about Olivia. He discovered that Ashley had been in a long-term relationship with 2 men, Kevin, who lived in Hoboken, New Jersey, and William, who lived in Greenwich, Connecticut. To learn more about these 2 men, Mike uses his knowledge of cybersecurity to find Kevin and William's social accounts through Ashley's chat logs and some public messages. He discovers that Kevin is an executive at a financial firm and William is a lawyer, both of whom are married men with successful careers. It was then that a user named Jacob caught Mike's attention. Unlike Kevin and William, who are mature and stable, Jacob is aggressive and possessive in his speech. He left frequent messages for Ashley, expressing his intense desire for her and his displeasure with her interactions with other men. "Who did you talk to again today?" "That Kevin or William?" questioned Jacob. "Just a casual conversation. Don't take it personally." Ashley replied. "Casual conversation? I don't like you talking to other men." Jacob's tone was filled with anger. "You're mine, and you can only talk to me alone." Through a period of observation, Mike realizes that Jacob is an extremely insecure and controlling person. He often posts negative sentiments on social media, and even some content that suggests violence. Mike was keenly aware that Jacob was going to be the key to his plans. A crazy idea is taking shape in his mind, and he decides to use Jacob's madness to carry out his revenge plan. He began to approach Jacob as Ashley, responding to Jacob's advances with more enthusiasm and initiative. He mimics Olivia's tone of voice and habits, flirting with Jacob, and trapping him in Ashley's tenderness. "Do you like me, Jacob?" asked Ashley. Love it very much. You're the most stunning woman I've ever seen." Jacob couldn't wait to reply. "So you'd do anything for me?" Ashley continued to lead. "Of course, I'm willing to do whatever you say." Jacob replied without hesitation. Looking at Jacob's reply, a sneer appeared at the corner of Mike's mouth. He knew that Jacob had fallen completely. In his interactions with Jacob, Mike also discovered information about his history of domestic abuse and violent priors. Much of this information comes from Jacob's ex-girlfriend's accusations on the internet, as well as some local news reports. Utilizing internet searches and the ability to consolidate information, Mike pieces together the information and gradually restores Jacob's true colors: a dangerous, volatile, and violent man. Olivia, still immersed in the world of Ashley, enjoys the company of Kevin, William, and Jacob, and is oblivious to the danger that looms. She dresses well every day, dating and flirting with different men, enjoying the illusory excitement and fulfillment. She never imagined that the disguise she thought was seamless would have long been recognized by her closest pillow. An elaborate plan for revenge is quietly unfolding, and she, in turn, will pay dearly for her betrayal. Mike stared at the screen as Ashley chatted with Jacob, whose words were becoming more and more explicit and possessive, almost to the point of sickness. Mike knew it was time to start the next step in the program. He was going to weave a big net with his own hands and trap everyone in it firmly, letting them kill each other while he sat back and reaped the benefits. Over the next few days, Mike devotes most of his energy to his revenge plan. During the day, he is still the dedicated project manager at the company, meticulously completing his work. At night, he disguises himself as Ashley, wandering between Kevin, William, and Jacob, skillfully provoking their relationship. He knows the weaknesses of all three men. Kevin craves passion, William seeks comfort, and Jacob is full of control. He developed different strategies for the different characteristics of the three men. To Kevin, Mike, as Ashley, complains about the boredom and emptiness of married life and his desire for passion. He leads Kevin to believe that Ashley is a woman who longs to be conquered and pampered, and that he is the man who can fulfill all her fantasies. Kevin, I'm tired of this same old, same old. I want something different. Ashley said this to Kevin in the chat. I understand you, Ashley. I feel the same way. Kevin replied, What kind of excitement do you want? I can fulfill you with all of it. Really? I want a man who really understands me, a man who can make me feel passionate. Ashley continued to lead. I'm the man you're looking for, Ashley. Trust me, I'll make you experience pleasure like you've never experienced before. Kevin promised with conviction. Thus, under Mike's careful guidance, Kevin's infatuation with Ashley grows, and he begins to frequently ask Ashley to meet him and even offers to take her on a trip abroad. As for William, Mike takes a different tack. As Ashley, he confides in William about the pain and loneliness of his marriage and his longing for warmth and care. He leads William to believe that Ashley is a broken woman, an angel in need of rescue, and that he is the man who can bring her happiness. William, I feel like a bird trapped in a cage, longing to be free but unable to do anything about it. Ashley said this to William in the chat. Poor Ashley, you deserve better. William replied, tell me, what can I do for you? I need a warm hug, a shoulder to lean on. Ashley continued to confide. I'll always be there for you, Ashley. I'll give you all the warmth and care you want. William soothed gently. Thus, under Mike's careful guidance, William's sympathy and compassion for Ashley gradually turned into love, and he began to imagine that he was Ashley's savior, able to save her from the unfortunate marriage. He began to fantasize that he was Ashley's savior and could save her from her unhappy marriage. As for Jacob, Mike takes a more dangerous tack. Knowing Jacob's possessive and violent tendencies, he deliberately provoked Jacob into believing that Ashley was a loose woman, suggesting that she was involved with more than one man at the same time. Jacob, do you find me attractive? Ashley asked. Of course, you're the most charming. Jacob replied. But I'm so charming. Will a lot of men like me? Ashley deliberately tried. Who dares? You're mine, and I'll make anyone who dares to touch you look good. Jacob's tone was full of threats. But I've heard that Kevin and William seem to have a thing for me too. Ashley continued to tease. What? Those two assholes. I'm going to warn them to stay away from you. Jacob, true to his bait, replied angrily. Mike watched Jacob's reply with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. He knew that Jacob, the fish, was thoroughly hooked. While maneuvering around the three men, Mike has been secretly investigating Jacob's background. Through internet searches and some public information, he learned that Jacob was the owner of a small construction company, had 2 failed marriages, and both were related to domestic violence. He also found that Jacob often posted hostile comments on social media and even had a collection of knives and guns. This information reinforces Mike's conviction that Jacob is a dangerous man and an integral part of his plan. He began to interact with Jacob more frequently and deliberately created evidence to convince him that Ashley was really having affairs with multiple men at the same time. He secretly used technical means to intercept some of the chat records between Ashley and other men. In fact, they are all himself, and made some changes to make these records look more ambiguous, more explicit. He then sends these modified chats to Jacob anonymously. Look at your good Ashley and what she's been doing behind your back. The anonymous email reads, with those altered chat logs attached. Jacob was really furious when he saw the evidence. He began frantically sending messages to Ashley, asking her why she betrayed him and why she cheated on him. You bitch. How dare you fool around with another man behind my back? Jacob roared. Jacob, let me explain. It's not what you think. Ashley tried to argue. Explain? What else do you have to explain? I was blind to believe you, bitch. Jacob had completely lost his mind and began to verbally abuse and threaten Ashley. Mike watched it all with cold eyes, knowing that Jacob was completely out of control. Next, all he needed to do was to add more fuel to the fire to bring the farce to a crescendo. He continued to communicate with Jacob as Ashley, calming him down while deliberately revealing information about Kevin and William, such as their addresses, workplaces, and daily schedules. He also creates coincidences where Jacob discovers the existence of Kevin and William and convinces him that these 2 men are competing with Ashley for his ownership of the house. Ashley for his ownership. For example, on one occasion, Ashley accidentally revealed that she was having dinner with Kevin while chatting with Jacob. Where are you? With who? Jacob asked, immediately alert. I was eating at a restaurant with a friend. Ashley stammered in reply. Friends? What friends? Male or female? Jacob continued to press. It's Kevin, Ashley replied reluctantly. Kevin? It's that asshole again. What restaurant are you guys at? I'm coming over there right now. Jacob said angrily. Jacob, don't come. I'm just normal friends with him. Ashley tried to stop, but it was too late. Mike knew that Jacob would go after Kevin, and that, in a nutshell, was the result he wanted. Meanwhile, Kevin and William begin to have doubts about Ashley. The suggestive messages Mike had anonymously sent them earlier had planted seeds of doubt in their minds. They began to test Ashley, asking her about her relationships with other men and even asking to see her cell phone and chat logs. Ashley, have you been hiding something from me lately? Kevin asked on a date. No, Kevin. What are you talking about? Ashley replied, feigning innocence. Then why are you always hiding? Can I see your cell phone? Kevin pressed on. It's my privacy, Kevin. Don't you trust me? Ashley started to fight back. I just want to get to know you a little better, Ashley. Isn't that okay? Kevin's tone was filled with disappointment. The same thing happened to William. Ashley, I feel like you've been getting colder on me lately. Is it? You have someone else you like? William asked worriedly. William, what are you imagining? How could I like anyone else? Ashley denied it. But I heard that you and Kevin are getting close. Is that true? William continued to press. We're just friends, William. Why can't you just trust me? Ashley felt aggrieved. Under Mike's careful planning, the tension between Kevin, William, and Jacob grows as they all believe that Ashley has betrayed them and they all want her for themselves. And Ashley was the trigger for the war. A bloody storm is coming. Mike, on the other hand, hides behind the curtain and watches it all with a cold eye. His plan for revenge is coming to a climax step by step. He's going to make Olivia pay dearly for her betrayal. He'd give her a taste of what it was like to be played for a fool. As the tension between Kevin, William, and Jacob escalates, Mike knows that the time has come to close the net. He's going to direct a show where these three lust-driven men will face off against Ashley in the ultimate showdown. He, on the other hand, is going to witness Olivia's breakdown and make her pay the heaviest price for her betrayal. After a few days of careful planning, Mike sent messages to Kevin, William, and Jacob as Ashley. Kevin, let's meet at the Bethesda Terrace Fountain in Central Park tonight at 7. I have something important to tell you. William, I'll be waiting for you at the Bow Bridge in Central Park at 7:30 tonight. And I have something I want to say to you. Jacob, I'll meet you at the Time Warner Center in Columbus Circle tonight at 8 p.m. I have something important to tell you. Remember, don't tell anyone. He intentionally arranged all of his meetings in the central areas of New York City, places that were densely populated, making it easy to create chaos and get out of the way. And the different points in time are meant to give these three people enough time to ferment their emotions and inevitably meet at the end. After arranging everything, Mike started working on Olivia's side of things. He knew that tonight would be the climax of this revenge drama and the moment when he and Olivia would have a complete showdown. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Olivia was ready to leave the house, as usual, after a careful dressing. Honey, where are you going? Mike said knowingly. I'm meeting a friend for dinner. Olivia's eyes flickered, not daring to look directly at Mike. Oh, yeah? Is it Kevin, William, or what about Jacob? Mike asked coldly. Olivia's face instantly turned pale, and she looked at Mike in horror, her lips quivering as she couldn't speak. How do you know? I know more than that. Mike took a step closer to Olivia. I also know that you used the identity of Ashley to solicit butterflies on the Soulmate website. And I know about all the nasty stuff you've been doing with these three men. He dumped the evidence he'd prepared long ago. The chats, the photos, and the information he'd investigated about Kevin, William, and Jacob in front of Olivia in one fell swoop. See, this is what you call looking for excitement? This is why you betrayed me. Mike's voice was filled with anger and disappointment. Olivia sits paralyzed on the floor, crying out in pain. She tried to explain. She tried to defend herself, but it all paled in the face of hard evidence. Mike, I was wrong. I really was. I was just confused. I love you still. Olivia cried. A moment of confusion? Your moment of confusion ruined everything for us. Mike's heart felt like it was dripping blood. From the moment you betrayed me, we were over. Holding back the grief in his heart, he hands Olivia the divorce papers that he has already prepared. Sign it, and let's get together. And at that moment, in Central Park, a chaos was unfolding. As promised, Kevin was the first to arrive at the Bethesda Terrace Fountain. He waited for a while, but instead of seeing Ashley, he was surprised to find William standing a short distance away, seemingly waiting for someone. A sense of foreboding surged through him as Kevin stepped forward and asked tentatively, "Excuse me, are you expecting?" "For Ashley?" William froze for a moment, then asked rhetorically, Are you waiting for Ashley, too? The two looked at each other, both seeing shock and anger in the other's eyes. Almost simultaneously, they took out their cell phones and dialed Ashley's number, only to find that the phone was turned off. Just then, Jacob arrived at Columbus Circle and made his way to the Time Warner Center as promised, but there was no sign of Ashley. He messaged Ashley, but realized he had been blackballed. Angry at being teased, Jacob began frantically looking around for Ashley. He dialed Ashley's number, and all he got was a cold, busy signal. Jacob remembers that Ashley mentioned Kevin and William earlier, and realizes that he may have been played. He started looking around the neighborhood for the two men, wanting to ask questions. Jacob pushed his way through the crowd and accidentally bumped into a passerby. The passerby was none other than Kevin, who had left from the Bethesda Terrace fountain. "Don't you have eyes?" Kevin said angrily. "You're the one. Don't you watch where you're walking? Were you waiting for a woman named Ashley?" Jacob didn't show any weakness and asked back. Kevin froze. He hadn't realized that Jacob knew Ashley too. Did they both? Before Kevin could respond, Jacob had grabbed him by the collar and questioned, "Where is Ashley? Where did you hide her?" "How do I know? I was going to ask you." Kevin was not to be outdone, and the two were soon wrestling. On the other side, on Bow Bridge, William had a similar situation. He waited a long time, not for Ashley, but for an angry Jacob. It turns out that after Jacob separates from Kevin, the more he thinks about it, the angrier he gets and returns to the neighborhood to continue his search for Ashley, only to run into William at Bow Bridge. "Are you here for Ashley too?" Jacob asked viciously. "Who are you? Why should I tell you?" William asked warily. "Who am I? I'm Ashley's man. And who are you? What's your relationship with Ashley?" Jacob stepped in. "What does it matter to you what my relationship with Ashley is?" William didn't budge either. Tension grew between the two and soon escalated from a verbal altercation to a physical altercation. For a moment, Central Park was a mess of screams and curses. Someone called the police, who quickly arrived on the scene and separated Kevin, William, and Jacob and took them back to the station. Mike, the man who started it all, is sitting on the couch at home, following the events on the TV news. He saw the image of Kevin, William, and Jacob being taken away by the police, and a look of complexity crossed his face. What the hell is going on here?" Olivia asked in horror, already dumbfounded by what she was seeing. "This is the excitement you wanted. This is the price you pay for betraying me," Mike said coldly. "Don't you like to play with other people's feelings? Now, you can also taste the taste of being toyed with." Olivia is completely devastated. She cries and begs, but Mike has done nothing. Just then, Mike's cell phone rang with an unfamiliar number. He picked up the phone and a somber voice came on the other end. "You're Ashley's husband?" A shock went through Mike's mind as he realized that it was probably Jacob calling. He steeled himself and said, "Who are you? Who am I? I'm the poor bastard who got screwed over by your wife. Let me tell you, this matter is not over. I won't let you guys go." Jacob's voice was full of threats. "What do you want?" Mike asked. "What do I want? I want to make you and your wife pay." Jacob said viciously, "I've called the police and I'm going to sue you for fraud. I'm going to make you all lose your names." After hanging up, Mike was deep in thought. He knew that Jacob, though impulsive, was no fool. If he does call the police, things could get messy. He had to find a way to solve this hidden problem. Using his technical skills, he tracked down Jacob's cell phone signal and anonymously reported Jacob's hideout, as well as some of his previous offenses, to the police. Soon after, the police found Jacob and arrested him. After an investigation, police found that Jacob was suspected of not only provocation, but also illegal possession of a firearm, as well as a previous case of domestic violence. Ultimately, Jacob was sentenced to a prison term and paid the price for his impulsive behavior. Kevin and William, on the other hand, were sentenced to administrative detention for provoking trouble, a farce that has finally come to an end. But the damage this farce has done to everyone involved is far from over. Olivia was disgraced by the drama. Her family and friends were disappointed in her, and her career suffered badly. Her reputation at the company is in tatters, and her former partners shun her. She had to quit her job under tremendous pressure. Mike, on the other hand, doesn't feel the slightest bit happy, even though he succeeded in his revenge plan. Instead, he was filled with emptiness and confusion. He didn't know if he was doing this right or wrong. He didn't know what his future path should be. He began to reflect on his marriage and on his behavior. He realizes that Olivia is not alone to blame for the breakdown of the marriage. He is also responsible for being so focused on his work that he ignores Olivia's feelings and the communication between the two. Maybe we're all wrong, Mike muttered. Over the next few days, Mike begins to try to let go of his hatred and tries to start living again. He knew that revenge wouldn't solve the problem. It would only plunge him into deeper pain. He decides to break up with Olivia peacefully and end the traumatic marriage. Olivia, let's get a divorce. Mike said calmly to Olivia, I'm tired of this life of mutual torture. Mike, Olivia was about to say something, but Mike cut her off. Nothing needs to be said, Olivia. I've made up my mind. Mike's attitude was firm. It's over between us, and any further entanglement will just add to the pain. I know you hate me, and I hate myself. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes again. But I really love you, and I don't want a divorce. Love? Do you really know what love is? Mike shook his head with a bitter smile. True love is loyalty, trust, and responsibility, not betrayal and deception. I know I was wrong, but I've paid the price. Isn't that enough? Olivia cried. The price? What is the price you paid, compared to me? Mike's voice was filled with sadness. I lost my marriage, I lost my family, I lost my faith in love, and all of this you caused. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm really sorry. Olivia sobbed. It's no use being sorry anymore, Olivia. Mike took a deep breath. We all need to start over. Eventually, the two signed divorce papers. This marriage, once full of laughter, came to an end. The post-divorce years have been a difficult journey for both Mike and Olivia. Mike moves out of his former home and into an unfamiliar apartment. At night, he often stood alone in front of the window, looking at the city's lights, his heart filled with confusion and emptiness. He tries to numb himself with work, but the business and the code that was once familiar to him can't bring him the slightest comfort at the moment. Olivia's life has hit even more rock bottom. She lost her job, her friends, her family, and her dignity. She shut herself up in her room all day, afraid to face the accusations and comments of the outside world. All those compliments and flattery that once surrounded her have now turned into cynicism and downward spiral. She began psychotherapy in an attempt to move on from the traumatic experience, but with little success. Why did you do it? Why did you betray me? In a counseling session, Olivia painfully asked, What did I do wrong? You haven't done anything wrong, Olivia, the psychiatrist said gently. You've just lost yourself. You're just trying to find what you want in the wrong place. But I lost everything. I have nothing left. Olivia sobbed. No, you still have yourself. The therapist encouraged her. You need to reconnect with yourself. You need to find what you really want, and you need to start your life over. During this time, Mike also begins to reflect on his past. He realizes that Olivia is not alone to blame for the breakdown of the marriage. He is also responsible for being so focused on his work that he ignores Olivia's feelings and the communication between the two. He begins to try to let go of his hatred, to try to forgive Olivia, and to try to forgive himself. He began to try a new way of life by enrolling in a photography club and learning to document the beauty of life through his lens. He started going to the gym to get fitter and more confident. He started reading books that he had never touched before to broaden his horizons. In the process, he meets Sophia. Sophia is a curator at a gallery. She is independent, confident, loves life, and exudes a unique charm. They met over a photography exhibition and became fast friends. Sophia's appearance is like a ray of sunshine shining into Mike's gray life. She took him to painting exhibitions, to concerts, to hikes in the countryside, and to a variety of cuisines. She made him feel good about life again and renewed his hope for love. Have you ever experienced anything? Sophia asked cautiously during a chat. Mike is silent for a moment, then tells Sophia his and Olivia's story. He didn't hide any details, including his plan for revenge. I used to think that revenge would make me happy, but it doesn't, Mike said bitterly. I just trapped myself in a prison of hate and couldn't get out. Everyone makes mistakes. It's how you face them and learn from them that matters. Sophia said gently, You've let go of the past, haven't you? Yes, I'm letting go. Mike nodded. I'm starting a new life. With Sophia by his side, Mike gradually steps out of the past. He began to be more positive about life and appreciate the people and things around him more. 5 months later, Mike and Sophia go out to dinner together at a new restaurant. At the restaurant, he runs into Olivia's friend Rachel. Mike, it's really you? Rachel looked at Mike in surprise. She obviously hadn't seen him in a long time. You look very nice. Thanks, Rachel. Mike responded politely. How about you? How's Olivia? She's in therapy. It's been a hard time for her. Rachel was about to say something, as if she had a lot to say, but eventually swallowed. She asked me to tell you I'm sorry. I know. Mike said calmly, the past is the past. And this is? Rachel asked curiously, looking at Sophia beside Mike. This is Sophia, my girlfriend. Mike introduced with a smile. Hello, Sophia, Rachel greeted politely. Nice to meet you. Hello, Rachel, Sophia responded politely in return. The four of them chatted briefly before Rachel excused herself. Are you okay? Sophia asked, looking at Mike with concern. I'm fine. Mike smiled. I've let it go completely. He and Sophia continued to enjoy their dinner as if the little episode earlier had never happened. On the other hand, Olivia is starting a new life of her own. With the help of her psychiatrist, she gradually came out of the haze and began to try to find herself again. She enrolled in a pottery class to learn how to make pottery. She found peace in the process of kneading, shaping, and firing. She began trying to repair relationships with family and friends, and although the process was difficult, she didn't give up. She began to understand that true happiness comes not from external excitement and vanity, but from inner peace and fulfillment. She tries to contact Mike, wants to apologize to him, wants his forgiveness, but she knew that some damage, once done, could never be repaired. Mike, I'm sorry, she said over the phone. I know I made an unforgivable mistake, and I don't ask for your forgiveness. I just want you to know that I'm really sorry. Olivia, I don't hate you anymore. Mike said calmly. I wish you well. Thank you, Mike. Olivia's voice was full of gratitude. And best wishes to you as well. After hanging up the phone, Olivia was in tears. She knew that between her and Mike, it was completely over. Life goes on. Everyone suffers the consequences of their choices, and everyone strives for their future. Mike and Sophia's relationship is becoming more and more stable as they travel, explore, and create a bright future together where they belong. Olivia also grew to find her own way of life, opening a small pottery studio where she teaches children how to make pottery. She devotes all her energy to creating ceramics and incorporates her own sense of life into her work. Years later, Mike and Olivia meet again at an art show. They all no longer looked the same as they did back then, and the years had left their marks on their faces, but they all had a little more peace and calmness in their eyes. They smiled at each other and didn't say much, just a few simple greetings. Are you okay? Mike asked. I'm fine. How are you? Olivia replied. I'm good too. Mike smiled. Your work is great. Thanks. A small smile appeared on Olivia's face. Your photography is excellent as well. They just rubbed shoulders and went on their separate paths in life. They know that there is no longer any relationship between them, but they both learned something valuable from that experience. They all learned to forgive, to let go, to cherish. They both understand that there is no turning back in life, and that only by looking forward can they find their own happiness. And all those former love-hate relationships have gone with the wind and become a dusty past in the memory. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.